Hello, my name is Mandy and this is my Mandy Yoga. Today I'd like to do just a short practice with you, but I'd like to discuss a little bit about when we should rest. And today and every day we struggle with all the things that we need to do in our daily lives. And we kind of have these checklists of things that need to be done and things that we have to feel we've completed: the right meals, the right vitamins, the news articles that we read. There's so many things that we feel like we need to pack into our day to get the most fulfillment. And those days, sometimes we don't always get to do everything that we need to. And that's what kind of motivated me to create this for you, because sometimes we need to understand that our bodies have a different plan, that our babies are sometimes going to make that plan for us, even while we're pregnant. I can remember, especially in the earlier part of the weeks, I remember thinking that Monday was a growing day, especially when I was pregnant with my daughter. And every Monday, we just rested. And it was because I felt like she was growing, something was changing. And on that Monday, I tried to do what I could, but I tried to also keep everything as simple as I could, because we have to know when it's time to rest. And I'd like you to use that also in your yoga practice, where if you come to anything, any kind of movement that doesn't feel right for you that day, skip it and find a simple child's pose. No worries. You never need to feel you have to do these poses. They're not right for everyone. And you know your body better than anyone else. And I know sometimes when we actually finish our practice and we did do it, we sometimes feel accomplishment, but other times we feel drained. And that's not what I'm trying to create for you. I'm trying to make this practice for you so that you feel that this complements your life, not makes it harder. So today, we're just going to do some simple movements, and we'll just kind of go at our pace. And if you decide you want to skip something or even pause the video completely and come back to it another day, that's okay, because you are busy already making this baby. So we'll start just a nice seated position. I have a blanket supporting me underneath of my sits bones, and we'll just start to find some movement while we kind of get in touch with our breath today. So starting here, just finding some movement. So just shifting, making these circular patterns here if you'd like. And if this position is not quite comfortable for you, there's also bound angle that you can come to if this is more accessible for you. You decide. I'm going to go back to cross legs. And we just kind of find what feels good. And all the while, just kind of checking in. So don't make your poses, your movements so dramatic that you're focused on them completely. Kind of focus on you and how you feel. How does this practice feel already? Could you slow it down? Could you move a little softer? Could you take the time to enjoy it instead of feeling like you have to do your best? Because sometimes our best is just finding joy. And just continuing to follow your breath in and out. Any movements that feel good. And we'll start to find some stillness. So check in here, nice and tall. Draw your height from here. Take, if you'd like, your blocks. And you don't have to use blocks here. I just like using them sometimes. And from here, just having a block on either side of you, I'm just going to kind of find this little tick-tock motion. So we're just going to go side to side. kind of the same kind of things that we were doing. You might notice little stretches here in the side of your body, and just no rush, just enjoying each movement. And maybe, since we've kind of done a few of them, you can kind of stay a little bit longer. So the next time you come back over to your right side, bring maybe forearm or hand down and pause here. Don't worry about lifting the hand up. This is our side gate pose, but we don't have to extend the hand. We can just focus on our length and just really enjoy it. Taking breath into that space that you're creating in the side of your body. And if it ever gets to be too much, you can come up, and we're ready to come up anyway. Let's do the tick-tock again. Let's go side to side, just shift. Kind of notice that you feel you can go a little bit more on the right side. We'll even it out in just a moment. When you're ready this next time, you shift over to your left side, and we'll shift over. And sometimes I'll even take my opposite hand and kind of take my hand down from the top of my thigh down towards my knee. And that just kind of encourages a little bit more length without really trying very hard, just encouraging it. And we'll make our way up. And we'll go that side to side movement again. We'll just do it one, maybe two more rounds if you're going a little faster than me. And the next time you make your way over to your right side, bring your forearm down. And then again, same thing. So if you feel good here, you'd like to extend arm up, you're always welcome to it. Maybe you want to reach your arm all the way down. Maybe you'd like to do that again. So we reach up and just create this space. Bring it down. So you can kind of float it down, or you can just put it back over here. One more time. Kind of like the hands of a clock. We'll slowly shift our way up. We'll move side to side again, just a couple of times. Next time you come over to your left side, we'll pause here again. Kind of get nice and deep into our pose a little bit before we start to extend right fingertips up. And sometimes if we just reach them up versus if we kind of lift and reach at the same time as we shift up. And if you'd like, you can start your movements here. So you can bring it down, you can shift it up. I'm going to do this a couple of times with me if you'd like. Just really taking the time to enjoy your pose. I want to do it one more time. It feels so good. And once you're all the way finished, we'll make our way up nice and tall. And let's do a little side to side again. Real slow. And just understanding that I'm moving at my baby's pace now. And sometimes it's just our body's pace. And you'll notice this even after your baby's born. Even when your children are 10, that sometimes you're just drained and you just need something to bring mindfulness and a little bit of movement. It doesn't always have to be exercise in order for it to benefit you. So find from here, I'm going to take my blocks just out of the way a little bit over off to the side. And then make your way to hands and knees. And we'll take our blanket with us, so we add some extra cushion underneath of our knees. And we'll find, so I'm just going to take my blanket. I'm going to adjust it a little bit here just so that I have a nice flat surface. And then we'll find our hands and knees here, wrists under shoulders, knees out of hips. And we'll find some movement here. So we'll do the really gentle variation of cat-cow. If you know traditional cat-cow and that one's going to benefit you better, that's the one I'd like you to do. When you're ready, we'll shine the light in the center of our chest forward And on your exhale, we lower hips down towards our heels. The inhale, we make our way back forward. Once you're about over your hands, shine the light in the center of your chest forward. Your exhale, hips down towards heels. Head and neck can kind of relax. You can even tuck your chin. In this inhale, we shift up. Exhale, we lower. In this inhale, we shift back up. Exhale, we lower down. And you can get into this a little bit more now that you've really started to find movement. You can really reach with your fingertips. You can really draw your chin in. Really getting rounding in the spine. And when you inhale, you can shift and shine the light in the center of your chest forward. Just kind of be cautious about taking the back of your head towards your back here. Sometimes that can be too much. So maybe keeping your gaze kind of soft in front of you and leading it with your chest instead. And just these back and forth movements just nourish your spine. And on your next exhale, we'll just kind of settle in. We'll come all the way down to our child's pose. So you can widen your knees here as much as you choose and relax down. And just remembering to relax fully here. Allowing all of your weight to be here on your mat. Completely heavy. And just letting go. Completely heavy here. In this inhale, start to make your way up nice and slow. Once you're here, finding hands and knees again. So you might need to shift yourself back if you shifted your knees open with me. And then from here, so I'm going to shift myself over just a little bit. You won't have to do that. I just have a wall here that I'm going to work with just a moment. And we'll start with from our nice sturdy table. So remember, wrists under shoulders, knees right out of hips. We'll extend our right leg out. So you'll find from here, this right leg extending just to start. And so this pose right here might be just enough. You may not need any more. And I know I'm kind of off of my mat here. That's just because I have a wall space behind me. So you can be completely with hands supporting you on your mat as much as needed. And we'll just find, so just starting here, maybe just some forward and back motions would be good for you. And just kind of opening up this space. Remember, if there's ever a really deep stretch and it feels good for you, but it feels too much all of a sudden, come out and maybe try to come back in when you're ready. And sometimes I'll do that a couple of times just with a pose, especially if it's new to me, just because it's not worth it. It's not worth it to overstretch too fast and not get the benefits of the pose. Instead, you're dealing with a strained muscle and you don't want to deal with that. So we can find, if you feel good here, you can come down to forearms. And then there's all kinds of options here too. You can start to shift your hips back as much as you choose. And again, you can find this forward and back motion here as well. If maybe you liked being down on the forearms, but it's just too far, bring a block underneath of your elbows, your forearms here. And you can find just this forward and back. And you can come all the way back, all the way down to sitting down onto your heel if you like. Wherever you are, though, is perfect, because just getting this deep stretch here into our groin muscle is just what we're looking for. If your right foot starts to kind of lift up a little bit, that's okay. You're just creating that space that's needed. Don't feel it needs to be grounded on all four corners in this situation here. And we'll stay here for one more breath. Again, if you need to come out of your pose, even here, so maybe you're here, but it's feeling too much, but then this doesn't feel like enough. Come back when you're ready and just kind of shift, enjoying it instead of pushing. Then we'll start to make our way back up nice and slow. And once you're all the way back up, we'll start to find, so if you shift your block out of the way so that we have our hands back to kind of table hands here, we'll take our right foot and we're going to cross it, so keeping long, so you can bend it to get it there, but it's going to stay long, and then come to balls and toe and find your way here. So check in, so we want to make sure that we're using our hands and our wrists, not just our palms to support us here. That'll be too much on our wrists here. So using your fingers, your thumbs. And then from here, we'll just start to find a little bit of length. So kind of start to draw your right hip away from your right shoulder. And eventually you'll start to bring your left ear towards your left shoulder. This doesn't have to be a very big movement or shift in order for it to be a nice stretch for you. And we'll slowly start to make our way back up. We'll start to let our right knee bend, since it's over there on the left side. And we'll start to bend our right knee so that we have it for support here. And so we have both knees bent. You can uncurl your toes, and you can shift your feet as far out as you choose for this next phase here. And we'll just slowly start to find, and again, we have our block here for support. You can start to lower down. So you can, again, kind of find this back and forth movement, if that feels good for you. You can come to forearms all the way down to your mat. And you can continue, so you can kind of go forward and back. It's kind of helping out these new little stretches here. And you can continue to draw your elbows closer towards you, or maybe you even find your way to kind of stacking the knees a little bit more, and then maybe you can come down. So this one not so helpful for maybe third trimester, just because you may be lacking this space. And with this top leg here, you could feel like you're really compressing. If so, just make your way back down. If not, you can find your way here. Just nice and tall, shoulders relaxed down. But any of these levels here is perfect, so you can just find your way here, kind of with our knees, again, nice and stacked, one right behind the other. We'll slowly start to return to bringing our right knee back. So you'll kind of have to shift your knees a little bit to accomplish it. And we'll just find our way back to our table once more. So kind of checking in here, your table pose. And we'll start on that other side. If you would like, and I'm just going to go ahead and do it with you, let's do a little puppy pose just to give our wrists and our hands a little bit of a break. So we find from here, we'll walk our fingertips forward, forehead rests down. Elbows can relax down here if you'd like. You can kind of shift your elbows closer down to you for a little bit more of a relaxing pose. Or if you want, you can continue to shift the fingertips forward, kind of making this really deep stretch underneath of your arms. We'll slowly start to inch our elbows closer towards us. So in our child's pose, it's really kind of the flat part of our forehead, but in puppy, it's a little bit higher up. So it's kind of getting closer towards your hairline. And from here, let's find our table once more. And once you kind of find your supported table, so remember you want to have your knees supported on your blanket, we'll extend our left foot out. So toes pointing forward. And we'll just start here. So this might be your pose. This may be where you intend to stay because this is deep enough. And maybe you'd like to kind of shift a little forward and back a little bit. Having a block close by, maybe come down to forearms to your block and maybe kind of continuing this forward and back. And remember, if you feel really good here, you can come down to just forearms to your mat. Or you can come all the way down to sitting on your heel. Just as long as you feel comfortable and you can breathe wherever you are in your pose. Just one more breath here. And we'll slowly start to inch our way up. And find so that you want to make sure that you're back to your kind of sturdy table here. And then we'll cross the left leg over towards our right side. And so you'll be on the ball and the toes of your left foot. And it's kind of pressed against, it's not actively pressing against your right leg, but it's right up to it. And then from here, we just want to find some length. So we'll start first with this space here. So from the bottom set of ribs to the hips, all the way to the shoulder, you can kind of lengthen that space, kind of extending out through your left leg, I'm sorry. And then eventually right ear, right shoulder. Slowly start to make your way back forward. And same thing here. So we start to bend our left knee right behind the right, or right beside it. And you can kind of shift your ankles a little bit out to the side. And you can kind of play with this back and forth. You can come down to forearms here. And just kind of finding what feels good. You can even find your block if that feels better for you here. And maybe you want to continue to kind of shift a little bit back, and maybe just kind of rolling forward and back is what feels good for you. Kind of rolling on those tight places. And I kind of instinctively just came to my knuckles here. Tented fingers are always perfect. Flat hands, fists, just whatever works for you. Fists, especially in poses where maybe you think that you're feeling too much pressure on your wrists. These are always good options for you. And of course, there's always the sitting all the way down if that's comfortable for you. But it's not for everyone, especially if your body does not give you the space to achieve it. So This isn't our goal. Our goal is just to find what feels good here. And stillness, so remember, if you just liked being right here with stillness, this is perfect. We'll slowly start to make our way back to our table. So we'll unravel our legs. We'll come back to our table once more and we'll shift our way. So we'll find another puppy pose. So make sure knees are about hip width apart. And we'll just start to walk our hands forward and our forehead comes down to our mat. Again, options for you. If this is getting too much on arms, you can bend elbows. If ever you're feeling a little bit too much pressure here on head and neck, you can always kind of make fingertips come together, little tripod. That will create a little bit more support for head and neck. Slowly we'll start to shift our elbows in a little bit closer towards us. Slowly start to make your way back up to your table. Let's do a couple of cat-cows. So I'm going to do the variation that we didn't do earlier. So you can always do the one that we did earlier if this one isn't feeling good for you here. So we slowly start to find, so let's start with some pelvic tilts. So we just tilt our pelvis forward and back. Or back and forward. Doesn't really matter which direction you go as far as which first. Just kind of instinctually go with what feels right for you. And just finding. And you kind of may notice, if you're familiar with cat-cows, that you're already starting to kind of create that full movement. So you just kind of go with it. So we shine the light in the center of our chest forward. And when we find our exhale, we'll slowly start to draw chin in towards our chest, really rounding your spine, draw your chest towards your hips. And we just continue this back and forth movement. And we'll finish this round that we're working on. And we'll eventually find our way back to our table pose once more. You can find one more child's pose or puppy, whichever you prefer. I'm going to go to child's pose, hips down towards heels. Widen your knees as much as you'd like. Create space for your body and slowly lower yourself down. And slowly we'll start to make our way up, nice and slow. So the last pose that we'll do is called legs up the wall. So we'll find, so I'm going to turn my mat So you don't have to do this, especially if you're at home, but it just kind of helps to have a good space to have yourself supported by. And I'm just going to turn my mat and take your blanket. And if you have, so I'm going to make sure that I have a good amount of leverage here. So not everyone needs a blanket here. So if you kind of think about, if you get to that point and you're just not feeling the blanket, that's okay. I encourage it because it kind of helps support our low back. So we'll find our way to bringing our blanket. So mine's about maybe 5 inches away from the wall. So if I'm kind of tight in my hamstrings, so I can't ever get my legs to be nice and straight. So this is going to help to create a little bit of space so that I can have a little bit of space between my buttocks and my heels. So if you're really flexible and you are able to really lengthen your legs completely straight, you might be all the way, your blanket might be all the way to the wall. So, and if you need further space, I wouldn't go too much further past 6 inches, just because then you might be kind of being counterintuitive. So we'll find from here, and this isn't easy to get into, and if it's too much, then maybe this just isn't the right pose for you today. And we'll find, so we find to where we're sitting down onto our blanket, and I'm kind of towards the edge of it because I'm going to eventually be in the middle. And I have hands for support, and I'm going to kind of kick my legs up, and so I'm going to kind of like show my butt, if you will, to the wall. So I'm almost kind of showing my butt, kind of bringing it all the way to the wall. My right hip is now the one that's right against my blanket. And then I'll slowly start to shift up. So I lengthen my legs up. And then you kind of notice that your blanket is right underneath of your sits bones here. And I'm sorry, right at the S curve of your spine. I apologize. So we find that blanket right to that curve of your spine. So that's just going to support you better here so that you have that extra amount of length for your breath, and it takes a little bit of the pressure off of your lower part of your spine. So here's some options for you. So you can keep your legs extended straight up. You can keep them more at a wide position if you choose. You can bend your knees and bring your feet flat to your wall space. And you can kind of just find anything you choose. So lots of times in my classes, my ladies would kind of find back and forth movements that would suit their needs here. You could also choose the soles of your feet together. So you kind of just decide, and don't be committed to one position or the other. Just find what feels good here. So I know what you might be thinking, Mandy, I thought we weren't supposed to be on our backs. Well, and from my research, that this pose is so beneficial for the fact that we can get so much good breath in because we're kind of taking this weight off of that vena cava, that lower part of the back. That's why we kind of have the blanket here. So there's that pressure is removed. So fluid breath is so much easier to get in this position too. So you can have palms relaxing down, shoulders relax down, so palms facing up. So I've had ladies though in this pose that said that they weren't able to breathe. So if you feel like once you've come up that there's just too much weight coming at you, like she felt like her breasts were in her face, kind of smothering her, that's too much. So feel free to come down. If you need to come down at any time, just bring your knees bent, feet flat to your wall once more, and then roll to one side. Pause there for a moment. And so if you're still here with me in our pose, just closing your eyes. allowing our smooth breath in and out. We practice inversions, and this is an inversion, by the way, legs up the wall, to help us with the circulation of our blood and especially into our legs. So typically our blood flows down the front of our legs and up the back, and this kind of just gives everything a break. So this blood flow is allowed to shift. And when we practice this for maybe 5-7 minutes, up to 10, so I don't recommend staying too long for your first try. And if you should ever become hot in your cheeks, really flushed all of a sudden, then it's time to bring your legs down. So that's a little indicator that we're depriving our baby of the oxygen they need. And when I say the oxygen they need, I mean through our blood flow. And we'll slowly start to make our way down. We'll start first with our feet flat and our knees bent. And we'll just pause here just for a moment. Just kind of getting used to this position. And then we'll take our right arm up above our head. Hi, buddy. And then we'll roll over towards our right side. And then we'll slowly just start to use our hands for support. We'll make our way up to a seated position. So take your time, there's no rush here. And we'll just kind of use this wall for support. And we'll just kind of pause here. Just kind of noticing how we feel here. So our legs up the wall pose. We practice for about 5 to 7 minutes for the first time. And you can practice it up to about 10 minutes, but I would build up to that over maybe a week's worth of time. And any time that you come down, just kind of give yourself that slow steadiness to get yourself back to an upright position, because it's a lot to shift from your spine, especially if you get to being there closer to the 10 minutes. And it's really good for you, especially if you've been on your feet all day. It's really great for swelling as well as just circulation. So just kind of noticing how you feel and what's different than when you first rolled your mat out today. And just taking full responsibility because you've created this change. You did this. Thank your body for the work that it does, but thank yourself for taking this time to care for your body. We'll bring our hands to our bellies. And we'll send our babies love and acceptance. We will accept you just as you are, whenever you're ready. I thank you very much for joining me today. I always enjoy it. Thank you. And if you need a full final relaxation, I have a couple of final relaxation videos that are available for you if you'd like. Thank you so much for joining me. I got really relaxed during that time period, so my words are coming slow to me. But thank you very much for joining me today. I always enjoy it. And again, my name is Mandy, and this is my Mandy Yoga. I hope you join me again soon. Thank you.